He was the person whom the king always trusted. For every decision, big or small in the court, the king would consult him first. Thanks to his wisdom, prudence, and ability to resolve every problem, he quickly became indispensable to the king. But as in any place where power and prominence exist, he could not avoid the eyes of envy. Some people in the court began to grow jealous. They believed he was overly favored and started seeking ways to bring him down, even if only through rumors or insinuations. One day, the king suddenly said to him, "You are very capable, very wise, but your son is truly foolish." The official was surprised. He felt insulted, not for himself, but because his son was being belittled. He bowed, maintained proper etiquette, and asked, "May I ask, Your Majesty, why do you think so?" "What makes my son be seen as lacking?" The king replied. "Every morning when I go to the market to meet the people, I see your son there. I place a gold coin and a silver coin in front of him, then ask, which one is more valuable? And every day, he chooses the silver one." The entire court burst into laughter. A child unable to distinguish between gold and silver was truly laughable, at least in their eyes. The official remained silent. He did not respond, only quietly left the palace to return home and directly question his son. And from there, he discovered a lesson that the entire court, even the king, had overlooked. The official returned home, his heart still heavy with the king's words. He wasn't angry, but rather disappointed. Not because his son had been mocked, but because he couldn't understand. Why would a clever child repeatedly do something that seemed so foolish? He called his son over and asked directly, "My son, do you know which coin is more valuable, gold or silver?" The boy didn't hesitate. "Gold, father. Everyone knows that," the official frowned. "Then why, every morning when the king asks you, do you pick the silver coin? Don't you see people are laughing at you?" At that moment, the boy smiled. A mature smile so composed that it made his father pause for a second. He said, "Every morning, the king places a silver coin and a gold coin in front of me. He asks which one I should pick, and I always pick the silver, because if I pick the gold, the game will be over. I will have a gold coin, but only once. But if I keep picking the silver, every day I will have one. And the king will keep coming back, keep laughing, and keep giving me money." The boy then took his father into a private room and opened a small wooden box. Inside were hundreds of gleaming silver coins, all from that foolish little game. The official was stunned. In his eyes was astonishment, pride, and a profound lesson. The boy had been mocked by the entire court as a fool, but in truth, he was the only one who truly understood how the game worked and knew how to make the most of it. The father smiled. From that day on. Whenever someone called his son a fool, he wouldn't argue. He would simply smile softly and say, "You may laugh, but do you have a box of silver like his?" From that day on, whenever someone mocked his son as a fool, the official would simply smile, neither refuting nor growing angry. He understood that there are things outsiders can never see and certain kinds of wisdom only those with enough calmness can truly comprehend. The boy in the story didn't need to prove his intelligence. He didn't need praise nor the spotlight. He chose silence and quietly kept collecting silver coins every day. In life, there are people who do a small thing and boast about it to the whole world. They flaunt their achievements, living for the gaze of others. But there are also those who quietly do extraordinary things and say nothing at all. Because they understand the most precious thing doesn't lie in compliments, but in silent growth. In life, there are people who do a small thing and boast about it to the whole world. They flaunt their achievements, living for the gaze of others. But there are also those who quietly do extraordinary things and say nothing at all. Because they understand the most precious thing doesn't lie in compliments, but in silent growth. You don't need to shout to prove yourself. True success doesn't need to be proven, it speaks for itself. And you don't need to be right in the eyes of everyone. If you know you're on the right path, doing the right thing. Don't let the laughter of others lead you astray. Let time speak for you. Because this world often calls those it cannot understand mad. So if today someone laughs at you, calls you foolish, says you're wrong, let them. Quietly do what's right, quietly grow. And one day, they'll look back and see how far you've come.